Hello everyone, welcome to Just Invest Today, and today we're going to talk about the truth about delisting, what actually goes down, what actually happens. Guys, you have to remember, we actually have evidence of what happens. There's no speculation. We know what goes on when the delisting happens of Nio and Alibaba. Say they delist, say this actually happens, this actually goes through, of delisting of Nio and Alibaba. We have proof, we have evidence of what goes on, what to expect. So guys, before you get into this video, can you please like it, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be providing you guys with so much new content. So stay until the end of the video because I want to know your opinion and what you're seeing and just how you're thinking about this. If I'm right about what I'm saying. So remember this article. This was back in October 2021. Countdown starts on Chinese companies' delistings after long US-China audit fight. So remember, they had a Chinese audit fight because they actually had a new act. Gary put a new act in called the Holding Foreign Companies Accountable Act, which they implemented. And now Chinese companies has 3 to 4 years to actually be able to send over the audits to USA so they can check their books, make sure everything's okay, and get audited by their firms. So that's what they're doing. And then Hong Kong came out and saying that the Cheshire Securities Audit Regulator denied claims of non-cooperation by Gary. Gary's saying they're not cooperating, all that good stuff. But you have to go back into the Trump administration. When they actually had the countdown, when they actually banned companies, look what happened. New York City to delist Chinese telecom carriers after rejecting appeals. So guys, they actually delisted companies. So we have evidence. Why are we speculating? We know what goes on once the delisting happens. China's big 3 telecom carriers lost their appeals against being kicked off the New York Stock Exchange. Guys, this is May 7th, 2021. So we have China Mobile, China Unicom, China Telecom. They all got kicked off the New York Stock Exchange. And remember, they're trying to appeal it. They didn't go through. It didn't happen because remember, Trump administration was saying that they actually have ties to China's military. They're actually helping China. Their CCP is in effect both the telecom companies, and they just work together. And Trump was saying, no, we cannot have them on their New York Stock Exchange because that's a security threat. So they booted them off the exchange. So why are we speculating on what happens when this goes down? Let's look at one example of a stock that everyone knows about and see what happened to it. Do you remember Luckin Coffee? Luckin Coffee, $175 million class action settlement over accounting fraud. So they were boosting up the profits, they were lying about what happened, and they got basically almost booted off the stock exchanges too for falsifying revenue. So look what happened with Luckin Coffee. It was at $50, boom, 95% drop. This is the OTC market. So like, what happens on the OTC market? If you bought Luckin Coffee on the OTC market, and this is a company that's a fraud, it's not a real company. So compare this to Nio or Alibaba. Nio and Alibaba would actually recover stronger if it got booted off. But this is not the best example, but just watch to the end and try to see where I'm going with this. So the lowest one's 139. Look at this. If you bought when the whole fraud happened, you would already 10 extra money. It went up to $13. You would already 10 extra money just like that, investing in a fraud company on the OTC market. So imagine that. Imagine Baba or Nio getting booted off. Let's go to China Mobile. Look at this. So remember, the new restrictions take effect on June 11th. So this was the USA banning the Chinese stocks, right? So that's when it really took effect, June 11th, 2021. So look when they got actually booted off. They got booted off around December 2020, March, April. And look, it barely did anything. It traded in Hong Kong. You were able to switch your shares. If you owned stocks in the New York Stock Exchange and China Mobile, you were able to switch your shares. And look, it barely did anything. Boom. Nothing really. Nothing big. Even this big dip, it reverted right back up. and got back up. And this is a dying company. This is not a company that's successful, that's thriving like Alibaba. Because remember, Alibaba is doing better than, think about it, they're doing better than Apple. Apple has such a dominant market share, but look, they're barely growing. They're growing at like 5%, 10%. And that's more successful than Alibaba. Freaking Amazon's not as growing as fast, and they're still having supply chain issues. And look at this, $1 trillion market cap. So think about that stuff. Let's go. Remember, China Unicom traded on the market in Hong Kong after it got banned from the stock exchange. Remember that. So this is around March, April time. It didn't even go anywhere. Look at this. Nowhere. And these are bad companies thriving in these markets. Even if you start from 2019, right? Goes back up, sterls, it stays the same. Can you imagine if this was Alibaba or this was Nio? These companies would bounce right back up after it gets kicked off the New York Stock Exchange because they're fungible. Your shares are fungible over onto the next exchange. That's what the ADS is. That's what the ADRs are. So let's get into it. So the New York Stock Exchange bans all of these ADSs, all the VIE structures. What happens? Do you think America wants Hong Kong Stock Exchange to become the second biggest exchange? That's $1 trillion switching over to the next exchange. The NASDAQ won't be as popular anymore. Hong Kong would be the second, probably biggest stock exchange. Do you think New York wants that? I doubt it. If they're going to ban Nio and Alibaba, the most fundamentally sound companies, that means they're going to ban all the rest of the companies, and all those companies are going to all go over onto the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, right? And then all the New York people, all the NASDAQ people, they're going to lose on billions of dollars because they're not trading any Chinese stocks anymore. Do you think all those people are going to say, yes, yes, do that? They're going to have to deal with that with all the freaking puppets up on Wall Street are going to be talking to Biden and saying, no, you can't do this, etc., right? So we have that killing it. The Hong Kong, Xi Jinping, he is telling the Treasury Secretary that this is not true. They are cooperating with Gary. They're cooperating with everyone. They do not want to ban VIE structure. Remember when there's a Bloomberg article that came out saying, oh, we're going to ban all the VIE structures on the New York Stock Exchange. One of the actual regulators came out and said that is not true. That's false. That's only for DiDi. It's not for Nio. It's not for Alibaba. So that's a false story. And even if they do, that's going to hurt their economy too, because their Chinese companies are VIE structures. So people investing in Hong Kong are also going to be affected if they ban VIE. So how does that make sense, right? So you've seen China Mobile, China Unicom, you were able to switch your shares over onto those exchanges when they got banned. And this is not speculation. This is what happened. You were able to do that. So when people keep saying that, oh, it's going to be so bad and so this, we're seeing on first-hand display what happened. And also, we have to realize that the Hong Kong Stock Exchange does not have as many people trading. So that's going to affect if it bans on the New York Stock Exchange and then you try to switch your shares over. It's going to cause a temporary crash for sure, because it's going to be increasing the number of hands moving in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. It might not be able to take that much. So you're going to see a temporary crash. But if the company does well, you got to remember, the stock follows the business fundamentals. So overall, the business fundamentals recover, they do good. Over the short term, it will crash, but in the long run, it will recover, because companies always follow business fundamentals since the beginning of time. It's always happened. Companies that grow their revenue 30x or their earnings 30x, they grow 30x. It's impossible not to, right? So just think of it that way, man. So if you watch it to the end, tell me what you think about what I'm saying, what I just laid down, man. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'll get back to you in the next video. Peace!